Hello and welcome to realmojo.live. We have been away for a little bit and we have been trying to get together some really good interviews. I was able to get somebody from a blast from the past, if you will. Tony Daniels, who was a friend from high school, incredible football player, incredible athlete. He's involved with NIL stuff, and we'll talk about that too. But part of the reason I wanted to get him on today is because I wanted to talk about what Mojo was. It's been so important to me in my life, and the character and the kind of team building stuff that it did for me in my career has been huge too. I'm talking about Permian High School, where the famous Friday Night Lights comes from. And so just looking forward to talking about that, and we'll jump right into it. Without further ado, here is Tony Daniels. Tony, how are you doing, brother?
Hey, what's happening, Jay? How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I saw you on Facebook, and we kind of connected again recently, and it's been really great getting to see what you're doing now and kind of what you're involved with. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Permian High School. That's something that's where we met. You were one of my big sister's friends, and kind of watched out for me, probably kept me from getting my butt kicked a few times. In fact, absolutely kept me from getting my butt kicked. I know of at least once. So,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
but yeah, and so I always looked up to you, and I was excited to get you on here because, as I told you before, when I was at Big Commerce, me and the CFO of Big Commerce actually were sitting down early on in the early days there, and I started telling them about what Mojo was, right? And for me,
Right.
I was explaining, I wasn't a football player, but I saw you guys, I was around you guys, and the other athletes. I was a sports trainer, and so I knew what Mojo meant, and so what I told him is basically it was like team spirit in action. It wasn't just talking about it, it was being about it, and being about excellence, and so that became a thing at Big Commerce to talk about Mojo and having Mojo, which I thought was really cool. It's now a publicly traded company, and I just thought, what a neat thing that it continues on in other aspects of people's lives. But tell me a little bit about what that meant to you, and kind of, you know, what it was like back then, because I don't really think Friday Night Lights really told the whole story, and I think there's a whole different perspective on the people and how it affected us.
Yeah. Um, it's funny that you mentioned, how you still talk about it and people are implementing it in the business world. I had a talk last night with two of the coaches that just won the state championship. Well, actually, one coach and the principal from the high school, from Sock High School, and the principal and excuse me, the principal from Sock High School and one of the coaches from Duncanville High School. We were talking, and they asked me about, what did I think about their schools winning a state championship, and I told them it changes things. When your program wins state, if you have the right people that's in place, and people buy into the program, they buy into what you're putting out there. It changes the culture. It changes a neighborhood. It changes a town, a city.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think we did that at Permian. You go in and you practice and you prepare to be the best you can be every Friday night. Um, and you do all those things to make sure that you're representing, not just yourself, but you represent history. A
Yeah.
program that's been around for seemed like forever, and they've been winning for a long time. So you wanted to make sure that you wasn't the person to you
Drop
know
the
uh,
ball.
man drop the ball, and so we held that part of the bargain up, and we put in the work to make those things happen. And so, um, you know,
What was that?
Mojo is,
What was that work that coach had you putting in back then? Because it
man.
was crazy.
Kids today can't do it. I argue. I used to tell my kids all the time. I'm like, man, you got to be tough as nails. You get up at 4 in the morning and head to school, and you're on the gym floor, and it's cold outside, and you're practicing inside a gym on hardwood with high top basketball sneakers and full pads, and you getting your tail knocked around. I mean, it's hard nosed the whole time. And it's the things that we love to do. It's not something that you cry about. You know what I'm saying? If you you
Right.
you want to be great, you have to want to practice. You have to want to do these things. And so we done it. You know what I mean? And we done it at a high level. So being a part of that program and being a part of the things that they implemented into us as far as leadership and what it takes to be a leader and be successful, man. I mean, all that stuff, all it does is just it takes you into the real world where you understand that everything that you want and everything that you want to do, you have to work for it, and you got to work hard for it. And in the end, it pays off. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's and it's just a fact.
Well, and I mean, one of the important factors for me was, seeing what it was like when we would go to those games, and you would hear before the game they would start chanting Mojo, Mojo, and it was like, for that other team, before they ever got out on the field, it was like, come on, let's do it. And I remember that kind of like winning spirit that just like, in the, I was a girls track trainer, and I I saw it in the girls track team. I saw it in the guys track team. I saw it on the baseball team, on the basketball team. Like, it wasn't just football, right? It was being excellent in everything you did. And I heard several coaches give these speeches about, what it meant, and what it meant to hold up that excellence, and expect excellence from yourself. And what I got to see was you guys really digging deep to make the difference. I mean, that track team, I mean, like, it seems like 5 or 6 of those guys were state, number one state running back or whatever, and it's just, it
Yep,
was it
yep.
was it was amazing, and they taught character, they taught people how to, and it's a different world. I think you're right. There's not a lot of people nowadays that could hold up to that kind of hard nosed teaching, if you will, or discipleship almost.
Yeah, and the thing is too, you don't even have the coaching. The coaching is different.
Hmm.
The culture is different. The way these kids are, you know, the PlayStations at home, and these guys, we wasn't doing that. We always were outside doing something. We were always involved with something that and that's the thing, man. We bagged. When I say what we backed our program. We backed if baseball team was playing, football team was there watching, uh, basketball team playing. Everybody's watching. If it was a swim meet, we were there. I mean,
Hmm.
and that's the thing, man. You wanted. We knew who was. Everybody was knew who was who in gymnastics or whatever was going on at that school. Sports wise, we were there. I mean, not even just that. We backed the band. We backed the
Hmm.
little orchestra we had. I mean, man, we were tough, man. I'm gonna tell you, it was tough to beat us. It was tough to beat us in anything because we gave 110%, and we left it on the floor. We left it wherever we were at. That's where we left it. And like I said, the thing is with these kids today, if they had a chance to really see what the grind was about. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of exceptional athletes out here, and there's a lot of guys that push themselves to exhaustion. But that's rare.
Hmm.
When we were doing it, everybody did it. It wasn't just one or two people. You had, everybody getting up at 5 in the morning, everybody being on time, everybody doing this, and you still got to go to class, and you still got
Yeah.
practice that evening. So
I,
don't think because you
even
practice
the
at 5 o'clock.
even the trainers were out there like that, man.
Even the trainers had to be there. You guys are out there taping legs and getting coolers together. I hear y'all think y'all had, if we were at school at 5, y'all had to be actually there probably at
Four.
4
Yeah.
or 3.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that the things that go in, into doing it. I was telling the guys about how we had our own personal trainers. Like, you guys were our trainers. A lot of schools didn't have trainers like you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And you do tape. It's mandatory that you're taped up. It wasn't that, oh, I ain't getting taped. No, it was mandatory. You taped up. You at practice. You on time. You have everything that you need.
Breaking up a
Getting it
little
right
bit.
there. We didn't make excuses. We worked through everything that we had.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I said we worked through everything that we had. So yeah,
Right.
we didn't make excuses. So like I said, if you had to be taped up, you had to be at practice. Everybody was on board. Everybody. I mean, you had to be on board. So, and that's what make programs great. That's what make kids great. That's what bring out. That's why a lot of times if you see good programs, good coaching, and then you see afterlife, you see a lot of the people that were under that tutelage being successful.
Right.
It goes back to where you started from.
Right.
So so Mojo had a lot to do with a lot of people's success, and whether some people want to recognize that or not, it's a fact.
Absolutely. I didn't even play football and it affected me. I was proud. The other day I found my letter jacket and I had to put it on, because I had that letter, and I'm proud of that. So it was in training, but I'm proud of it, man, And here's
Man,
here's the thing, if you were not an elite athlete, it was hard to be a part of that program sometimes, I believe. But like I will tell you, if you weren't an elite athlete, it didn't mean you weren't a part of it. You might be a trainer. Or there were people all over the place around that program at that school.
yep, yep. And everybody was involved. Even, I mean, man, you remember our pep rallies, man. You remember how, think about how the school was. Every Friday night. During the week, everybody's getting geared up for different opponents. Man, this thing was I mean, this was that was bigger than college. That was
Yeah.
bigger than college ball. And you're gonna have 20,000 people in the stands every Friday night. We somebody was telling me the other day at one of the state games, it was total for both sides. It was 31,000 people at the game.
Uh huh.
And the dude was like, "Yeah, man, we had 31,000 people at the game." I say, "Hell, we traveled 35,000." And he was like, "What?" I said, "We traveled 35,000 of our fans traveled." So
Yeah.
on just Mojo's side, 35,000. So we would have cracked just that one side. We would have had 35,000 people. And he was like, "Come on, man." I say, "Nah, 35,000 people made it to our state game my last year." I said, "We traveled big time." I said, "Dude," I said, "It's that Mojo was real."
It
And
was
and when we
real.
came, we knew we were gonna win. It no doubt in our mind. We never even would think, oh, they going we knew that people were gonna make plays.
Hmm.
But we knew also if we played the way we practiced, we were gonna win because we knew nobody went through what we went through. Nobody worked as hard as we worked. And that says a lot to the character that was developed based off of your off season working out with just your buds, your teammates, and then you get into it with the coaches, and then you get into it with your trainers, and everybody starts working together, and that whole thing gels. You can't do number win. You can't do number win. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah, man.
You
It
get that
was
mojo
awesome.
working. Hey, you get that mojo working, baby. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh
Hey,
yeah.
that engine don't stop. So, but
Dude,
yeah, those are
those pep rallies were off the chain, dude. They were wild, man.
man. Those pepper rallies were nobody has pepper rallies like that, man. Man,
This is the kind of thing they try to emulate when they're doing pep rallies on TV, but it's the real deal. All sorts of levels of talent coming out there. People doing music, getting the whole crowd just rowdy. Everybody screaming their heads off. It was fun.
man, I'm trying to think of who was our Panther. It was
Jeffrey Berthelsen.
Jeffrey and
Yeah.
Chad Sandell. And Chad Sandell was the Panther, I think, at one time too.
Yeah.
Man, those guys, dog, turning flips and
Yeah.
dancing and doing all the stuff they were doing. And
They were like
man, this
pros. They were
man,
awesome.
and they did so much. Like it was so much that they did. It had. I mean, the performances, like we said, the performances. You had the Pipettes, you had the drill team, and
Mm.
then you never know who had a skit coming, and then you also had Kirk Kaiser would come out. Man, I mean,
Yeah,
nobody had pep rallies like that.
yeah,
You know,
dude.
and the band, you know what I'm saying? Oh my goodness, you can't even
Yeah,
talk about the best band in the
dude,
land.
Mojo Band it was like, I mean, they knew how to get rowdy, man. They knew how to make it pound, you know. And when y'all were winning games and stuff, man, there's just nothing better than having a backup band, you know, that's the
Oh
best in the
man,
land. So,
man, you hear that 5-0, that Hawaii 5-0 hits you, and you, man, it's a wrap. You know what I
yep,
mean? It was a
yep.
wrap.
That
So that
it was a whole thing, man. It was an atmosphere, and that's what, you know, I try to tell people about it in business, right? If you can
yeah.
create an atmosphere when there's really no choice but to win, that's what you want, and you do that through preparation. You know, you
But
do that
now
through
you got
hard
to
work.
understand though, to do that in a corporate world, it starts with your leadership.
Yeah,
And if your
absolutely.
leadership is crap, and they don't understand how to work as a team, and they don't understand how, um, you know, no, you have to have a heart, and when you have a heart and you understand, you say, okay, this is this. We're gonna lay this out, and then you get everybody on board. You know, and that's why I was always good at what I did when it comes to business, because I all of the things I have compassion. I understand what people need, so I understand the job now. Don't get me wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but what happens is I had people want to run through a wall for me, because I
Mm-hmm.
understood that you're still human at the end of the day, and the happy your employees are, the harder they're going to work for you.
Right.
And so a lot of these people, they don't, if they hadn't reach certain levels of being what it takes to be a champion and chasing down a championship, man, you can never. It'll be hard for you to kind of implement this, or even, you have to have somebody to come in to really really show you. Now you can
Yeah.
always be the bulldog and say, oh well, you don't want to work here, I'll fire you. Nah, I take somebody that don't know nothing and teach them everything, and they'll be a winner. And that's the thing,
Absolutely.
man. You have to want to do that. And people, they if you care about people, man, people they'll run through a wall for you.
Well, and
And
that's exactly what those coaches did. You know,
exactly,
they
you
cared
run
about
through.
their athletes, and you saw
Yep,
it.
yep. And we would run through a wall for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, man, I'm telling you, these guys, man. I just remember, you remember how Nate used to sit and monitor the hall, man. You
Yeah,
go down
yeah,
there
yeah.
through the
Oh,
science wing,
and he was scary.
man. You could be on H Hall, and everything is rowdy. Everybody is like hostile. Shit, you walk around there to that science hall.
Hmm.
Oh man, Nate standing out there. Everybody is quiet. They walking. Oh man, this heat, man. That dude presence as a coach standing in that hallway, man. He didn't play, and and
He's a
and you knew
great
he wasn't
man.
playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so those were some good days, man. Like we had so many good people, Mike Blue, K King, and you just name them, Quisenberry, and
Oh yeah.
man, these guys, Hollinshead, Gary Gaines. I mean, dude, it just starts from, like I said, it starts from the top, and and it trickles down, and once it happens like that, man, these guys, I can name so many guys that I played with that are very successful um, businessmen, because of what they went through with that program, and everybody credits that to that program.
Absolutely. And like you said, it had to do with the coaches. I mean, that even, uh, Coach Hearn, he ended up being a principal, and so the
Yeah.
culture was through the administration, it was through the teachers. So you're right, it's
Yep.
got to be a collective effort, right? You have
Yep.
to have the
Yep.
mentality as a school, and I'm so proud and happy to have been there at that time to see what that kind of driven excellence was, and to get to be a part of a sports program, not the football, but a sports program that was just all about excellence because it taught me character. It taught me how to attack things in life and how to go after them. And I think you're 100% right. And it's funny when you talk to people that were opponents of Permian, they don't have that view sometimes. They're like, oh yeah, they were so hard, man. They're so tough. They almost hate them, And
Yeah.
it's like having a really great program anywhere.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a lot of haters. So, but
Yep.
the true story is exactly what we've been talking about. But with that said, that has led you down a path in life that now has you kind of doing something still in football, and it is extraordinary. So, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now with NIL and in the sports world.
Man, I do a lot. I talk to I mentor a lot of kids as far as helping kids understand what moving on to the next level of life as far as college, uh, and what they expect. I help a lot of kids get into school. I pick the phone up and call a lot of head coaches and say, hey, look, I got a kid over here, man. You might want to look at, and we get film over to them, and a lot of these guys get these offers.
Mm-hmm.
They get the opportunity to go play college football, opportunity to get a higher education, and and that's the potatoes. And then so you get your potatoes, and then if you get a chance to go to NFL, you get the gravy on the potatoes. So, um, and those are some of the things that we implement into the young people out here that we're dealing with. Um, and I've just moved that over, and I've been doing sports marketing for almost 20 years now. I've been doing it full time for the last 10 years, and man, it's been wonderful. To actually do something that I actually love doing, wake up doing every day. And I love working. I mean, I work for an investment firm, a banking investment firm for about 12 years, where I, managed about 200 people and 10 managers, and we were very successful there. But it's nothing like getting up, working for yourself,
Right.
um, full time, and you're still able to help people and give back. And so, what we've basically done now is to make it easier on what I want to do and how I want to help people. We've now created an app called Bubble App, and
And I'll go
it's
ahead and share that so you can kind of tell us a little bit about how this works, and I'll navigate it for you while you're.
yes. So yeah, so Bubble App is what we consider is not a social media site. What it is, it's a platform for athletes by athletes. And so what we did is we created this app. I created this app in 2008, and a lot of things that I wanted to do hadn't even been developed at that time.
Right.
And like FaceTiming on the phone, being able to talk, all these things hadn't even been created. And I guess I was kind of ahead of my time on some of the things that we wanted to do. But this app is a platform for athletes, whether you're high school, college, or professional in any sport, um, to be able to get on this platform and actually have dialogue, face to face dialogue with your actual fan. Um, and it's a great thing, man, because a lot of the times, you know, you may have a athlete that you would love to talk to,
Mm-hmm.
and you never get an opportunity. But if they're on Bubble App, there's a chance you get to talk to these guys, so, or ladies. So and I think it's a great deal,
Mm-hmm.
you know to put those two together, because you can't, usually if you're trying to even get a hold of an athlete, you got to actually go through, you know all kind of red tape, agents, everything. On this app, you know you can actually book a player for your kid's birthday party,
Oh,
and
dope.
you know what I mean.
So
Now,
how does it work in general? I've got the main screen pulled up. I've signed in. What do I do to kind of you? How does this work?
all right, so you're on the main screen.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can't see your screen on here,
Okay,
so
I'm on the.
I
I'm
can't
on.
really see where you're.
Okay, well, I'm on the main screen, and I have all the bubbles coming up, and
Okay, okay.
so
So have
what do
you
I do?
already created an
I,
already created an
I
account?
did, yes, and it was actually very easy to create. It was very intuitive.
Okay, so what you want to do is you should have a picture or your initials in the bottom left hand corner.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you hit that, and then it should take you to your main page, right?
Right.
Okay, and then you'll see your picture, your bio, and all that. All
Mm-hmm.
right, if you're going to go to if you go, let me take a quick look because I have to look at it as well. Um, I'm getting on right now. Give me 1 second. All right, so next to your picture. Okay, give me a second. Okay, so on calendar, the calendar is telling you um, what athletes or what events are going to come up. That's what those are going to tell you. So you got uh, current, past, and it should say current events, past events, and then you have what's the other word? Hold on 1 second. And then you have
Request. Request.
request, right?
Right.
So um, you have request. So after that, the next little plus sign that you see right there, if you hit that,
Okay. Oh wow. Cool.
now so you can take that and you can go in here and you can go and you can say, okay, today's date or tomorrow's date or next month or next week, I want to book Jonathan Owens. Jonathan is a cornerback I represent that plays for the Houston Texans. Um, you can go book Jonathan, and then
Okay.
he'll actually his fee of what it would cost per minute or per hour would be on there. If you're a company, that information will come back to the office. But usually, what happens is you go in and you can book Jonathan. Say if your kid's having a birthday party, you can book
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan for to talk to your kid, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
usually going to be no more than 5 minutes, and that might cost you anywhere between 250 to $500
Okay.
uh, to have that conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is the difference is that you actually getting to have a dialogue with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's an actual conversation. You can ask whatever questions you want to ask, as long as you're not disrespectful. You're gonna get those. You're gonna always get those one-offs where you're gonna have somebody that probably actually hates Jonathan because he plays for the Texans, and he may have got an interception that cost them a game, and they probably want to call and disrespect him. Then now you forfeit your money. He can hang up on you, and you forfeit your money. So I always keep you know read your policies and procedures on there.
Now I see a
Um,
I see a James Miles on here. Is that who I think it is?
yeah, yeah, that's James Booby Miles. He's on the platform as well.
See and
Yeah,
see
so
for those non for those TV or movie fans, Bowie Miles was the center of the most of that movie, Friday Night Lights. So
Friday Night Lights.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, Booby's one of my clients as well. He's been doing a great job, man. He's you know, what he's trying to do is these guys are all wearing the 45 jerseys and from the movie, and they saying, oh, this, they got Miles on the back of the jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they meet the real Booby Miles or they talk to him, he's like, yo, you need to get the 35 jersey. So he has his own 35 jersey that he sells, and these sales are going great for him. And people are really, getting the opportunity to speak to this guy. And he's been speaking at a lot of different engagements, and he's, been doing the same thing. He's just telling them, hey, you know, I know you like Booby Miles as a football player,
Yeah.
but you know, I need you to understand that the Booby Miles in the classroom, he wasn't where he needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to make sure that uh you get your grades. You need to make sure that you have a plan B for life. So if something happens like what happened to him, you know, he tore his leg up, and had he took school as serious as he would have,
Mm-hmm.
or he should have, he'd have went, probably, if he hadn't got hurt, he probably would have went to a major college. He ended up going to Ranger Junior College
Mm-hmm.
to finish his football career. But at the end of the day, he still had the opportunity, but he didn't get that big opportunity, right? He didn't get that
Right.
Power Five where he should have been at a Notre Dame, or I think, me personally, I think Booby would have probably been one of the best uh, running backs college football had ever seen. I would have loved to see him go play for like Wisconsin or Nebraska. Man, that'd have been a big deal, because he, how big he was, and how fast he could move. And this guy had he had everything: the tick, the twitch, you know. He had the yak. He could do it all. Yards after the catch, he had it all. So, and those guys come through, once every blue moon, especially his size. I think the only guy I've ever seen as big as him that can move pretty good and was Bam Morris.
Mm-hmm.
And I played with him at Texas Tech. And Bam went on to play in the Super Bowl and played for the Steelers. But
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to see those type of dudes um, in this lifetime. You might not get that many. But yeah, Booby's one of my clients, and he's on here, man, and he's a mojo guy, and I mean, he's been around a long time, and so this app gives you that opportunity to talk to Booby Miles, and not the
Yeah.
movie guy, but the real
Yeah. The
Booby
real
Miles. You know
guy.
what I'm saying? So, the real guy. And so this is what you get. So you could book him. I got who else is on there? I got Cavante Turpin, N'Kobe Dean, and these guys are in the NFL. I got Casey Rogers, who plays for Oregon. I think Seven McGee is getting loaded. I got Megan Walker. She's a track star at Nebraska. She was a high school phenom up in North Dakota,
Mm-hmm.
and she brought her talents to Nebraska. And she's one of my college girls that's doing NIL. Man, I got so many of them. Like I said, I got right now, just the people that I represent. I have 19 college kids. I represent 15 NFL guys, and I got two high school kids that I represent. It's just, so it's this thing is like crazy, man. It's crazy. But like I said, the good thing is we cut out the middleman, and we bring in the interaction between the athlete and the fan
Right.
closer,
Right.
and it gives you that opportunity. It gives you that sense, like, man, I wish I could talk to this person, and you getting it right.
Yeah.
And they have a platform out there. I'm not gonna say it's similar, because we do a ton of things, but there's one out there called Cameo, and they do a recorded
Yeah.
video, and they and
It's
they
very
email it to you, or
specific.
text.
That's all.
Yeah, yeah, and on there, they say the fan, excuse me, the athlete or the talent or the entertainer, they do a recorded video and send it to you, and you don't get no interaction. You just, oh
Right.
yeah, I got this from Snoop Dogg. He told me happy birthday. Yeah, well, if you was on Bubble Out and talk to Snoop Dogg, now he can tell you happy birthday, and have some gin and juice, or whatever.
It's
You know
so
you
it can go so much further than even just sports with the way it's built.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah,
I
man.
one thing I did notice is there's two gentlemen on that app as well that look like you and have your last name. So tell me a little about your two boys and their story, because I will tell you, I might have to get on there to have a word with your son about that OSU tip of the kick when he beat Texas, my
Texas,
team.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, so what's going on with your boys? Tell us a little bit about them.
man. So my oldest boy, Darian, he did 2.5 years over at San Francisco. He was with the 49ers. And this time last year, he tore his Achilles tendon, so he's been
Oh,
sitting out. And then he got picked up by Atlanta this summer
oh,
for the OTAs, actually for the fall. But they wanted to make sure that he had a year. He healed so fast, and he hadn't been out a year with that Achilles. So he got released, and he's been visiting teams, and he got quite a few teams interested in him. But um, I spoke with him actually last night. We talked. I picked him up from the airport last night. He flew back in town he was out in San Francisco. Flew back in town last night, and I picked him up. Man, we got home about 2 o'clock this morning because his flight was late getting in,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked on the way from the airport, and he was talking about some teams that called that want him to come back, and he's not ready to
Yeah.
go play for an NFL team. He said, he don't want to go on a team and sit on a practice squad, so he's gonna go play in this USFL just to get his everything together, get his feet back up under him, and
Mm-hmm.
then he'll be ready for OTAs by the time they start for the NFL. My youngest son was playing for the Texans this year. He got released, and then he went and did the NFL Academy. He just got drafted last month by the XFL
Oh,
St. Louis
cool.
team, I think. So I think they call it the Battlehawks.
Yeah.
So he'll go play. He'll go play for them if he doesn't get picked up. He's had some teams call him
Yeah.
to come play in the NFL. So he's
Now,
talked to a
now
few
both of your
teams.
boys got to play together in college for a year, right?
Yeah, so Darian, my oldest boy, he was at Oklahoma State, graduated early. Ended up actually that year I think he tore a tendon in his finger and would sit him out, and so he ended up sitting out. And so since he still had another year left, he decided to go play at Nebraska with my youngest son, and so he left and he went to Nebraska. Got there, became a team captain his first year there. Uh, Graduated with his master's from Nebraska.
Mm.
Um,
I bet you're proud of
and
that.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, man. And that's one thing here. Mom is an educator, so they got to make sure they got to get it you up in here.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he ended up playing there, and then from there he went from San Fran, and then the next year my youngest son became a team captain at Nebraska, which is I think that's the seventh. They are the seventh group of brothers to ever become team captains uh, at that institution. So
That's so cool.
they'll be enshrined there for as long as that school stands. So his boy graduates. Yeah, my youngest boy graduated and started on his master's as well. I think he needs like 6 or 8 hours left to complete that. And
Mm-hmm.
they've just done. All my kids, even my daughter, she's an educator as well.
Mm.
They've all done exceptional job in the classroom. They're doing good in life. I couldn't be more prouder than we're so proud of them here, man. It's just it's kind of elevating to see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so um, we're just we on a cloud for them, and
I
we
get it.
always rooting for them. Yeah, and we're always rooting for them. So, but again, it comes from what I was taught at Mojo. All this stuff reflects back, man. It's just
It does.
it's crazy. So um, other than that, we just got to keep this thing going. I think on Bubble App, it's going to be one of those deals where you actually have that opportunity to talk to these young men. So you should get a chance to talk to Darian if he's on there, whenever he's on and he goes live. And so the goal is to have, at least 3,000 athletes worldwide, because it's not just for football, basketball, baseball. It's for everything: cricket,
Yeah.
hockey, kickball, whirly ball, whatever,
Whirly.
whatever,
Wiffle
whatever.
ball.
Yeah, whatever sport that you do, and if you got an audience and there's fans and they want to be able to, talk to you,
Now,
those fans want to be.
how do they get in touch with you if somebody sees this and they really want to be able to work with you?
As far as the athletes, well, what would happen is um, they'll actually go online. There's a portion that says, when you go in and sign up, or you're an athlete or you're a fan.
Mm-hmm.
And then what they would do is, if they're an athlete, they would fill out this information. It would come to my email. Once it gets to my email, I'll look at it, and I get it over to my analysts, and what they'll do is they'll pull them up and see, if you say, oh yeah, my name is Corey Smith and I play for Texas Tech, uh, you know, we'll verify that you Corey Smith and you play for Texas Tech and you're actually an athlete. If you're not, then you'll probably get denied, saying, hey, you're not an athlete at Texas Tech, blah 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 blah. But other than that, I mean, we just try to figure out, we want the best, and we want to try to help everybody out as we can. And again, I don't want the biggest athletes. I don't care about that. What I want is the athlete who wants to actually engage with their fans, who's gonna be respectful, who's gonna who's willing to talk to a kid and say, hey, I went through this or I went through that, and yeah, you can do this and you can do that. Those are the big things for me, right?
Absolutely.
And so if you can do those things, man, I mean, it's crazy. So I tell you what the late Dr. Clark used to say. He said, you know, I don't debate with my equals. Excuse me. He said, I only debate with my equals. Everybody else I teach. So uh, it's the same thing. I don't want to debate with nobody. I just want to teach as many people as I can. Um, and I debate with the guys who's been in the same realm with me, as far as if you played with me or we played and we played on a high level. We can sit here and agree to disagree and debate and have fun
Yeah.
doing it. But if you hadn't been in that realm, then I'm not. I'm here to teach you. I'm not here to. Um, I'm not here to argue with you and debate with you. I just want to be able to give you. I just want to be able to give you this knowledge, right?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Tony, for somebody that really loves college ball, myself, but didn't ever play, I have enjoyed reigniting our friendship and being able to talk about this stuff because my wife, I drive her nuts with it. My wife's an A&M fan, which I
Oh
want to.
my goodness!
I have to point something out.
Wait a
Texas
minute. No, no,
Texas Tech beat as many teams either headed to the SEC or in the SEC as A&M this year, from what I understand. Is that correct? Is that a true
that's true.
statement?
That's a true statement. True statement. True
And
statement.
that includes
True
us,
statement.
which I hate to say, Texas Longhorns, but we'll see.
Yeah, man. Texas. But see, the good thing about Texas, man, they got you know, it's a huge following, and it's just you just got to have that one little. It's just a few little knobs that need to be tweaked, and once those twists turn into those tweaks, and you get it right, man. That program is easy to bounce back. It's just it's been tough these last couple of years going through the different coaches, and
Well,
it's kind of hard.
I think Sark's the first coach that really has a lot of the intangibles and a lot of the character and attitude it takes to lead a program like this. I hope he is. I really hope he is. But from what I see from the kids and the way that he has progressed, I believe in him. I think he's a pretty great coach.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, God knows what he's doing. I think he has, pretty good guys around him.
Mm.
I
That's
don't, I
part
don't
of
care
it,
too much
though,
for.
isn't it?
Uh, yeah, yeah, and that's the thing, man. It's always about who you surround yourself with, and if you surround yourself with losers, then you'll get a loser's mentality. You surround yourself with winners, you're gonna win. I mean, I tell you this: there's a lot of people gonna be pissed off, but that Deion Sanders, man,
You're
hey,
gonna
what
upset
Prime
the
doing?
whole world.
What what Coach Prime is doing up there, man? I think you know he's opened up a lot of doors and a lot of eyes to a lot of people. And now he's one of the guys still a hard nosed coach, but he loves his players. And see,
Oh yeah.
that's the one thing I'm gonna tell you one thing. I wouldn't play for a coach. I'll tell you why I wouldn't play for a coach. If I could, if I go to one of these college programs and I can walk in my head coach's office and have a dialogue with him,
Hmm.
right? Then I wouldn't play for that coach.
Right. Right.
You know, I tell you the funny thing is, Spike. I played for Spike, Spike Dykes, Sonny Dykes' father,
Hmm.
and I had an issue, and I was pissed off one day, and I didn't have to set no meeting up with my coach. I went to his office. This man was in there working with Nike on a Nike deal, and I went and knocked on the door, and he told me to come in. I looked and I said, "Coach, I need to holler at you." He told Nike, "Hey, y'all go sit out there and wait for me."
Ooh, yeah.
And we sat in there and talked for about an hour, and got some things straightened out. And I left, and I was in a better place. Um, After that, years later, like I'm doing a celebrity golf tournament with for him, and we're down in Austin,
Mm-hmm.
and we was at Barton's Creek, and
Okay.
I walk into one of the rooms, and he's in there, and I said, "Coach, man, let me holler at you real quick. I'd ask you a question." I said, "Remember I came to you and talked to you in your office that time, and you was in there working on a Nike contract with the Nike people?" He was like, "Yeah." I said, "Man, you kicked these people out of your office to talk to me?" You know what he told me?
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Yeah." He said, "You guys are like my kids. Y'all way more important than money.
Mm-hmm.
You're more important than a contract."
Right.
He said, so at the end of the day, yeah, you came before anybody. You guys come before anybody."
Well,
And
hear
that's
a lot of that in you and what you're doing too. You don't want to be that guy that takes advantage of a kid. You want to be that guy that helps them get to that next level in what they're doing.
exactly. And when and that's the thing, even with my kids, I told them, I said, "Look, if you can't walk in your coach's office and talk to that man, you don't want to play for that guy." And a lot of people, Scott Frost didn't win. He didn't win in Nebraska. He didn't. He tried. A lot of times kids didn't buy into what he was trying to sell. But he was a coach's. He was a player's coach.
Mm-hmm.
And that was funny because I told him, I said, what? I told my son, I said, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm in Coach Frost's office." "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm playing this PlayStation." So, he's in the coach's office playing PlayStation, not in his lobby, in this man's office. Uh, and Scott had an open door policy. He talked to those players, and and some, you have some guys that were still under the old regime, and they didn't buy in. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't care if we went 0-12. If I had that relationship with my coach, that makes it a lot better. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because you're still going to get that. You're still getting vital information. You're still getting some things that you usually don't get. You know what I'm saying? You still get knowledge, because he's implementing that knowledge. And if you go in and talk to him, he's more likely going to. So man,
Mm-hmm.
these kids, they don't get that, and we as people have to start making sure that these kids, they get that. You know what I mean? It's
Absolutely.
important.
Well, hey, brother, it's been great talking to you, and I've enjoyed this. This has been one of my favorite episodes, and I am just super excited to see how the Bubble app goes and see what you do in the future. With that said, y'all download the Bubble app, check it out. It's super cool. I think it'll be something, if you're a sports fanatic, that it's something that you need to keep an eye on and look out for your athletes, because it's a new way to connect, and it's just great. So, Tony, all right. Well, thanks for joining us for realmojo.live. It was a great episode, fun talking to Tony. And if you want to support what I'm doing here, just go to collectivecart.io and check out what I do, what my business is. And I appreciate having our guest on, Tony Daniels, today, and hope you enjoyed the episode. Thanks.
Collective Cart is a more equitable way to do e-commerce. Whether you need a partner for growth or e-commerce services, we got you covered. We're a collective of artists, devs, designers, and growth experts that work to build your e-commerce vision. We have two ways of doing that. One, we can become your partner, giving you a heavily discounted rate for services as we partner for equity in what you're doing to see exponential growth. Two, We have different levels of transparent pricing that can be custom fit for you. Schedule a call at the bottom of our website, collectivecart.io, for either choice. Either way, you can win with Collective Cart, a more equitable way to do e-commerce. collectivecart.io.